Hi, I'm Denise Krzanowski, a glioblastoma brain cancer survivor of 6 years and going strong. I was diagnosed in 2019. We just went to the emergency room because I had some left side weakness, some left eye twitching, I thought, which ended up ultimately being seizures. But when we went to the emergency room, my husband and I, we ended up finding out that I had a tumor, pretty large.
It was a 2 golf ball sized tumor.
And so we ended up having surgery on
2 days later.
2 days later. They wanted to have emergency surgery, but we wanted to research the surgeon, and we didn't like the guy on call, so we went for a better option. That's the reason for the delay. So once I had the surgery, it was 4.5 hours. I was awake for the entire surgery so that the surgeon can touch pinpoints on me,
On the brain.
on the brain.
So what was the entire purpose of being awake during the surgery?
It allowed me, I think statistically it was 95% chance of not being paralyzed. So it increased my chances of not being paralyzed, which of course I jumped on. I didn't want to be paralyzed.
If they put her to sleep, what would happen would be there would be no reaction from her not being awake. So while the surgeon is in the brain, they can literally touch different parts of the brain which react with different parts of the human body. So they can touch some part of the brain and the fingers can move. So when they're trying to remove the tumor from the brain, there's not a lot of room between where the tumor is and where the brain is. And obviously you cannot cut any portion of the brain out. So by her being awake and by them just touching these different pieces in the brain, different bodily movements would happen. So they were very pinpoint in the precision of the tumor.
Well, he was also asking me to do things. Kick my left foot, kick my right foot, sing a song, play the piano, do different things so that he would know exactly where he was touching.
Mom, what was that experience like for you, just being awake the entire time during a 4.5 hour?
4.5 hours.
Long surgery.
Or how about getting into the brain?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little crazy. So getting into the brain, he literally took a saw and cut my head open, my skull open, and you feel this crazy pressure, and the smells were unlike anything I've ever smelled. It literally was so horrible.
That's not traumatic at all.
But he was so gentle. He was so kind. At one point during the surgery, my mouth was so dry I started coughing, and so I asked him for a sip of water, and he literally gave it to me. I only could have a tiny, tiny sip. I think he gave me 3 little sips, but he said, to this date, I'm the only person in history to have ever had water during a surgery. But he was just wonderful. But no, being awake for that, I'm grateful that I was. I will say this, after, I started healing and getting myself together, I definitely had some traumatic feelings about it. It was really just overwhelming. But I'm glad I did it because I'm not paralyzed. But when I woke up, I had my entire left side did not work. So my left arm did not work, my left leg did not work, which was extremely frightening.
We literally had to carry her from the bed to the bathroom, or if she was in a walker with the wheels on it, she would just be dragging her left foot.
My left foot, yeah. So I needed a lot of assistance at that point.
And what was the reason for the left side being more impaired after the surgery versus the right side?
Because the tumor was actually on my right frontal lobe, which if it's on your right side, it affects everything on your left side, is what I learned through this experience. If it was on the left side, it would have affected everything on the right side.
And just like every other operation in any part of your body, when you go in and do something to the body, there's swelling, there's no telling how quickly you're going to recover. So it was pretty scary to think, there was no guarantee that she wouldn't have some paralysis. So
Right, and permanent damage.
so we were waiting and praying and hoping that this was just the result of the surgery and the swelling, and as the swelling came down, that she would regain motor functions through her rehab. And thank God that is what happened.
Yes.
And before we continue going, because in the beginning you were saying that you were a 6-year glioblastoma survivor, but if you guys could tell us a little bit more about what glioblastoma is and why this was such a major operation and why it had to be done so rapidly.
Do you want to do
Yeah, when we first found out that she had a tumor in her head, in her brain, we you start doing the research on Dr. Google, and you start looking at all these different types of tumors that you can have, and the one tumor that you never wanted to hear was glioblastoma. We couldn't even say it, when we were reading it, but based upon all the X-rays and the MRIs and that, we pretty much knew that that's what it was, though we didn't let her know because she really had to concentrate on getting just recovering from the surgery. But again, in doing the research, glioblastoma is the worst type of brain tumor or cancer that you can have. It's pretty much a death sentence. There's less than 1% of people survive for after 3 years. So, but we really looked at what type of surgeon can get the results we needed, and after seeing Dr. Moschel, we just knew that he was very confident that he can get in there. And again, there were no promises made because you didn't know until you got in there how big the tumor was or how intertwined with the brain it was. And we always joke about it that she had a 2 golf ball sized tumor in her brain, and it grew in an empty space. So thank God she had an empty space in her brain. So we didn't know it at the time after the 4-hour surgery when the doctor came in and said we had 100% total rescission of the tumor. And we're like, great, that's what we thought you would do. But we didn't really know, and learned so much in the past 6 years, that is probably the most important thing, because glioblastoma just grows and multiplies faster than, I think he told us, it grows faster than your fingernails and your hair. So if you could just imagine those, those 2 things that everybody has, and how quickly this tumor just doubles and triples and quadruples in size and grows into your brain, it just shuts the brain down, and that's why the survival rate is so low. So when we got the news that it was 100% rescission, kind of just said to ourselves, like, why can't we be the 1%? And that was our goal.
It's actually what you guys put the signs around the house for me saying that you are the 3% initially, because I had to be part of the only 3% of people
live after a year, right?
Live after a year. And so the family just kept saying to me, you are the 3%. Why can't you be the 3%? Somebody has to be that. And so I just got it in my head that I was going to be the 3%.
Even though the doctor told me that she, has somewhere between 12 and 16 months to live. So, which we never told her that, which I don't think she needed to know that. So we just focused on, a few people, actually one person that we knew who was 6 years or so at the time, or maybe less, or 4 years, and we just knew she was alive. And we had people hunting down, other people who had glioblastoma, and
trying to find happy stories, which there were very few and far between. We were looking on YouTube videos, like anything to give hope. But ultimately, I would say the signs all over the house of the encouragement, and my family just telling me every single day, you are the 3%, you will survive this, you can do this. Ultimately, really got in my head, and I just put my mind to it. I am going to survive this. I am not going to die. I have too much to live for. So we just kept thinking forward, 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 making beautiful life plans together so that I could have hope and something to live for.
You had a few people praying for you.
Yeah, a few hundred probably.
So talk to me about those next couple steps. So you got out of surgery. Where'd you go from there? What was the process of recovery like?
We were in the hospital for 2 nights.
Yeah, you're in the ICU for 2 nights.
2 nights.
And then they said that you would have to go to Kessler rehab
to live there, to sleep there for
6 weeks, right?
I don't remember.
I think it was 6 weeks. So, as Denise said before, it was in early November that this happened. So we were looking to spend. She was supposed to spend the holidays in Kessler, trying to learn how to walk again, learn motor functions.
Tie my shoes. They practiced me folding laundry. Basic things.
They were trying to prep you to get right back home.
Yes,
Start getting back to laundry.
Yes, exactly. Get back home. I took, they had me in classes, different classes every day, had me climbing over tiny little hurdles to just try to get my balance back. The first thing I did was they tied me to this machine, which was like a treadmill, I would say, but they had to hold my body up because I wasn't able to walk at all. And so it actually helped teach me how to walk. And this, obviously you have these PT people helping you along the way, which were a beautiful group of people.
Doing both PT and
OT and PT.
Yeah, occupational therapy and physical therapy.
I had a lot of issues with my vision on my left side, and so there was this special tool that they were using to help me with that. It was a lot of work I put in, but I'll tell you this. A lot of people in Kessler were laying around, and I said because they were elderly, so they couldn't really help it, and they had strokes and different things. And so I said to my OT and my PT therapist that if there were any openings, to please come and grab me. If I was napping, wake me up. I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible.
You're basically trying to break out in a wheelchair.
I was.
I don't remember when that was, but I just remember in the beginning we'd come to your room and you just wouldn't be there, and then we would see you rolling down the hallway in a wheelchair.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you got in there about, I would say.
Because wasn't there a system of levels or something?
Yeah.
Like
She got in there in November, I believe like November 13th or 14th. And her goal, which was unrealistic, was to get home by Thanksgiving. And because that was only 2 weeks, and yet they were planning on keeping her for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yes.
So, and what did it end up being?
I wouldn't have that. I was home for Thanksgiving.
She was home for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I think they really wanted to get rid of her because
there
was different tag system that was red all the way to green, and the green was you had free mobility to roll yourself around in a wheelchair, and she was she started red in the beginning, and in 2 short weeks she was so proud of her green tag where she can go everywhere. And she was, we'd come to visit because you weren't allowed to stay there all the time. And you couldn't find her. She was in other people's rooms telling them to get up, and
let's get going.
Let's get going. Don't be lazy. So,
you got to help yourself. That's what I kept telling everybody. So, they
she was like the mayor. She was the mayor of Kessler. It was
walking around.
I mean, we did throw some pretty good parties over there.
We did, you guys. Yes, I will say I only ate breakfast there, and you have to get out of your room, so somebody has to come and pick you up in the wheelchair and bring you to breakfast. And my sweet husband would bring me coffee every single morning, and he would come and see me a few times just sitting by myself, like, I had no friends or whatever kind of thing, and it would upset him, and he had to cut my food. I couldn't even cut my food at that time. I couldn't do anything, so he just had to sit there and wait for somebody to come and assist you. And again, the people were wonderful and would assist, but they have a lot of people that they're helping. So that was luckily I didn't have to eat dinner because I was brought dinner every single night. But as Rob said nobody was allowed to sleep there, which in the beginning I wasn't happy about because I was afraid to be by myself, but it really was a blessing because you're just working hard there all the time. That's what they ultimately want you to do. Rob and Claire picked me up, my best friend from Kessler, and we moseyed out because I insisted that I would break out of a window if they didn't let me out before Thanksgiving. So we went to my daughter's school.
Are you sure they didn't kick you out?
I don't know. They did not kick me out. There was like some issue with my blood work or something. But I said, we'll test in a week. I am totally fine. I need to get out of here before Thanksgiving.
Or you just wanted to be home for Thanksgiving?
I wanted to be home for Thanksgiving. I was walking, I was talking, I was writing, I was doing 1 + 1 = 2. I knew who the president was. And
How great would it be if you just said 1 + 1 = 3?
I was ready to get out of there. So before we got home, though, my husband had to install railings because I wasn't fully able to walk comfortably. So
Your balance was
my
off.
balance was a little off.
So we had good friends who dropped everything that they had to do, and they came to our house and installed 4 flights of railings, just so that she would be able to hold on and continue her almost her physical therapy of walking up and down the stairs by herself. But we couldn't just put any railings. We had to get the railings that fit with the decor of the house railings. So.
I thought you were going to say sturdy or something, like it was a Home Depot commercial.
No. And then my husband thought that there was going to be a full-time nanny to watch me, and that was absolutely unacceptable to me. That was not going to happen. I was not going to be babysat. I was going to absolutely get on my own 2 feet and get going.
You realize you had a whole traumatic brain injury, correct? And yet you're like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
everything was fine.
However, you got to get yourself going, and that's what I did. So there was no nanny when I got home. It was going to be what it was going to be, and we were going to get through it, which is exactly what we did.
And we had a lot of good friends and family who came and helped.
Helped us, prepared meals, loved us. Everybody stopped by to check in. They continued driving Maddie to school, which was amazing. And picking her up. We had rotations of people picking our daughter up from high school, bringing her home.
And people making food for us. And
yes.
Took away the everyday things in life that you had to do. They tried to make it as easy as possible for those everyday things in life that we never thought we'd have to do.
Right.
That were now part of our everyday life.
And then radiation started, correct?
Yeah, they let your brain heal. You were in Kessler you were supposed to be there for 4 to 6 weeks. You were only in there for less than 3 weeks. So there was some downtime before radiation started. Radiation, though, we had to bring you there because you had to get fit for a mask, like a mold to your face, so that once they got this mask, they would screw you into the table.
Yes, they snap you in.
So it was a pinpoint radiation because they needed to put the radiation only in the area of where they took the tumor out. So that was the first course or treatment from after the surgery.
Which was interesting because I was claustrophobic, but there was no thinking about that. You just had to do what you had to do. So I got this mold of my face. They snapped me in, and we had to go consecutively 5 days a week for 6 weeks, except for weekends and holidays. The same exact time every day for my magic dusting, I called it. So it was radiation, but to me it was my magic dusting. I knew I was being healed, and I just loved every minute of the medicine.
Actually, I think you said it took longer to get you all strapped in and everything than the actual radiation.
Correct. It was a very, very quick process. However, I had to have people drive me there and home every day because obviously your brain is out of it. You can't drive yourself, so that was a little bit of coordination, but everybody was ready to step in and just help us out. It was amazing.
Little did she know, though, she wasn't allowed to drive. So she had to get cleared to drive. So that was that's a story for another day.
And then we also had a neighbor who offered to grocery shop for us every single week, which was amazing. We gave him our American Express card, and he literally went to ShopRite, BJ's, whatever we needed. He went and picked everything up, and we barely knew this guy. I mean, it's incredible how you see the best in people when you're in these urgent, dire situations.
So how long were you doing the chemo and radiation for?
So radiation was 6 weeks, and then we had a break.
1 month break where they do another MRI to just see where she was from the surgery, and that would be her base.
And then the chemo consisted of pills, which we were blessed because these pills were able to be taken at home in the evening, which was wonderful, so I didn't have to go and be hooked up to an IV or anything.
We did 5 days, 5 days on, and then she'd have 25 days off.
TMZ, it's called, right?
Temoloside or something.
Yeah, TMZ was the acronym.
We just called it chemo.
Right.
And so she would have to do this 5 days on, 25 days off, and then you would start it again the next month.
So we did that for a year. And so our routine would be, we had these pills. My husband would put on rubber gloves because nobody is allowed to be exposed to them. And so you have to be super, super careful. So he wanted to touch them because we wanted to bless them. And he wanted to give them to me. And we had to have a pill before, an anti-nausea pill, a half hour before the chemo was given. And everything is very, very rigid. And you have to have everything the same exact time every single day. And we absolutely stuck to the schedule. So we'd have my anti-nausea pill, and then literally 30 minutes later, I was given the chemo, and Rob and I would
watch a prayer for 20 minutes.
Yes.
The same prayer every night.
Every single night. And he would kiss, air kiss the chemo, as I would. And I was just saying, I love you. Thank you so much for my complete and total healing. And we just felt as though it was super important to love the medicine that we were taking because it was our opportunity for healing. And we believed through this medicine we were being healed. We never hated it. We never said we don't want to take this. I said this is what I have to do.
Well, maybe one day.
Well, in the beginning, yes. but then we loved it. And we started out with, do you remember the dosage?
Started out with 120, and then we went to, the second month, we went to 240 milligrams of chemo. And then the last dose, which was 2 months after that, was 320. And each was a step up of the dosage. But she had to do blood work every month, and this was
every week. We did
every
blood
week,
work. Every single week.
And the crazy part through this whole thing is they can stop you at any time when you're doing chemo because they're afraid of you.
Well, the expectation is your white cells are going to get out of control, right?
Yes, and you almost can develop leukemia. So they do a baseline blood test, and from the first month to the 12th month, her blood work actually
improved.
Got better, got improved.
It was from us loving the medicine. And so we just kept it up. And at the very, I think, last 2 months, I said, I can't do this anymore because I'm extremely out of it. I was laying on the couch, and I'm a super active person. And I did not like the feeling that I had. And so I just wanted to stop. Not stop the chemo, but just keep the lower dosage. And my husband insisted that you are going to take this higher dosage. It was a man's dosage. So it was very, very extreme. And he pushed me to take it. And I'm glad he did because I was able to get through it. Laying on the couch, reality, doing absolutely nothing else but laying on the couch.
A really long time.
Yeah. I couldn't do anything. But I was just allowing my body to take it in and heal and kill the cancer remaining cells. And that's what our family did.
Well, we always felt that we were so blessed to get 100% resection of the tumor. But however, the doctor always says to you, you never get 100%. We got 100% of the mass, but there's
floating
cancer cells everywhere because
floating,
of you having this tumor in your body. So what we thought then was, okay, let's, we have the radiation and then we have this chemo that we're taking for 12 months. So we're gonna kill every remaining cell that there is, because the cancer cells split and split and split, and they just keep growing in that way. So we always said when we were done with it, there's nothing for the cells to split because there's those cells remaining. And it's no one will ever in your life when you have glioblastoma tell you you're cured.
No. Or you're in remission.
Or you're in remission or anything.
No one will say that.
Why is that?
Because it's not a curable cancer. So they always expect it to come back.
They always say it's not if, it's when.
Right.
But we don't
live our life like that.
We're not living, and we don't accept that. It's not
No, we don't believe that.
So based on where you are currently in your journey, what piece of advice would you give to anyone facing medical uncertainty in their lives, whether it's through cancer or any other type of illness or disease or just any type of diagnosis?
Don't believe your statistic. You just keep fighting. Put everything you have into it. Be positive. Love the medicine that you're able to get and accept it into your body, and absolutely love it. And just keep living your life and thinking forward thoughts. And love your family and keep creating beautiful memories, because that's all life's about anyway. And don't buy into this business of you have X amount of time to be, because that's not true. As in my case, I would have been dead in 12 to 16 months, and here I am 6 years later, and I believe in totality I am completely cured.
As do we.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.